deal makers. Here's a look at the deal itself. It's a transaction worth 3,800 crore rupees. Promises to give UltraTech a good presence in the western region. Also will bring down the debt levels for JP Associates. But is it really a win-win deal for both the parties, as the bankers would like us to believe? Here's a special report on that. UltraTech may be the country's largest cement maker already. But Kumar Mangalam Birla clearly wants more. He's just signed a deal to buy out Manoj Gaur's cement plant in Gujarat for 3,800 crore rupees. A deal which will give him a big leg up in the western markets.
We've always wanted to be and are market leaders in each of the businesses that we are in. Gujarat is a region where we wanted to add capacity. And I think that this plant fitted in perfectly in terms of its location and also the quality of the plant itself.
It's a win-win deal for the Birlas, as the valuation of $124 per ton is at a discount to the industry average. UltraTech may have gained from the desperation of the JP Group, which is neck-deep in debt. Interestingly, the upfront outflow from UltraTech's books will be negligible, considering the fact that it is taking over 3,650 crore rupees of debt, besides an issue of fresh shares worth 150 crore rupees to the JP Group.
I assume that the value accretion will happen within the first 3 years, and we project that the deal will be value accretive by year 3. It basically means improving operations. Capacity utilization just now is 60%. We would want to take that to more than 80%. You know, our brand gets a higher premium in the market there as opposed to this brand. Operating efficiencies, synergies with our existing units in Gujarat on account of manufacturing and logistics and marketing. So all of these put together, I believe that this acquisition will be accretive from year 3.
For Manoj Gaur, the deal is a lifeline of sorts, as it will help JP Associates reduce its debt pile of over 40,000 crore rupees, although marginally.
In this, there will be about total debt addition to the extent of 30-50 crores, and equity share of UltraTech to the extent of maximum 50 crores would accrue to the company. And we are confident that, as I have been maintaining, that in this financial year we will be bringing down our debt significantly.
It's been a long wait for the Birlas and the Gaurs, and insiders say it was the difference over valuations that kept the deal hanging. But for now, Birla's focus will be on closing the deal, which could take another 8 to 9 months. The lead advisor to the deal is Standard Chartered Bank, and it probably doesn't come as a surprise because Stancy has been behind a lot of blockbuster deals that have been struck over the last few years. And today, on Deal Makers, we present to you the man who makes these deals happen again and again, Saurav Agarwal of Standard Chartered Bank.
Any deal basically goes through its own twists and turns. And you got to look at a deal in the backdrop of the economic environment, the volatility in the market, and the external factors. If you look at this particular sector, I don't think there's been any significant transaction that has taken place in the last 5 to 7 years. And this is a substantial asset. For any buyer or seller to come to an agreement on a price in this current environment takes a while. So I think it's basically, today, getting anything done is tough. So I would guess that's primarily the reason why the deal took what it took in terms of the time frame.
How hectic were the negotiations, especially between two promoters, because promoters have their own mindset? Was it a difficult task from an iBanking perspective to be in the middle of two negotiating promoters at that point?
Look, I think that's the job the investment bank is expected to play. In any deal, a lot of stress can be taken out if there's a banker which can add substantial value and enjoys trust of both the buyer and seller. So in this particular case, I mean, Stanchart has worked very closely both with Birla Group as well as JP Group for a long period of time. We enjoyed the trust of both the promoters, and that really helped us in bridging the gap in terms of issues associated with the transaction. it was not purely value, it was a lot of other factors. In every deal, basically, there are structuring issues, there are valuation issues, there are diligence-related stuff, and one has to navigate all of them. And I think the job which we played as Stanchart was primarily bridging and acting as a trustworthy advisor to both of them and giving them confidence that it's a fair deal.
The valuations that were being talked about earlier, a year back, were much higher than what the deal has actually been signed at. Why such a drop in the valuations? Is it also the desperation to sell that brought in this kind of a figure, 3,800?
No, I do not think so. I mean, I personally think it's a very fair deal for both the parties. And valuations are at a point of time. If you look at the cement market, if you look at the overall market, it is very different than what it was a year back or 6 months back.
$124 per ton of cement, that was the valuation which was derived at. $140 per ton at this rupee-dollar rate is considered to be the replacement cost for such an asset. So how did we derive at these valuations?
Look, value again, basically replacement cost is only one of the factors which drives the value. Any asset, it needs to result in a cash flow. It needs to give returns to shareholders. As Mr. Birla himself mentioned, I think this is a deal which is going to give 3 years EPS accretive to the Birla Group. If you look at deal dynamics, I personally believe, I think the value of this asset in the hands of UltraTech is very different than the hand of JP. And that's purely the reason why the deal has taken place. So the value which UltraTech can derive out of this asset probably is higher than what it could have been with JP itself. But in terms of deal dynamics, if any deal is going to take 3 years to be EPS accretive, that self reflects that considering current markets, so the valuations are very fair.
What is the process, and are there any regulatory roadblocks that we foresee?
Well, I think it's a 391, 394 driven court process. So it's a pretty standard demerger transaction, which is defined in the Companies Act. Both the companies will go to the court, and the court will follow its due process in terms of giving its approval. The only other approval which is required for this transaction is CCI, Competition Commission of India. And my guess is they will look at the deal at its own merit. And I think these are the two approvals which are primarily important for the deal to get closed. That big an issue.
But UltraTech will get a substantial market share in the western region with this buyout.
It does, but like Mr. Birla himself mentioned, this asset is not just about servicing Gujarat. It's about servicing lots of other coastal markets. They plan to use it for other regional, other coastal markets like Sri Lanka, Mumbai, and a couple of other places. So my guess is basically one needs to look at the larger game plan and what that entails and what it means while looking at market shares.
What has come on the table for UltraTech is 90 years of reserves at the present capacity, that kind of limestone capacity. But I did gather from my sources in the course of working or reporting on the deal that the environmental clearances and all of it was waited for before this deal was signed. Was that one of the key factors in this deal?
I don't think so. I think UltraTech did a very comprehensive due diligence. They looked at all the factors, including the plant, including all the regulatory clearances associated with it. Today, I think it would be fair to say, and it was very well mentioned during the press briefings as well, that it has all environmental clearances very much in place. In today's environment, I think people are very focused on regulatory approvals while acquiring assets. So that's an important part and parcel of a due diligence for doing any transaction.
Okay, but apart from pricing, what are the other key issues which got sorted out because of your involvement in this deal making?
Look, I think when a large asset like this changes hands, and when it has an operating history for a while, though not very long, I think in every operating asset there would be due diligence related issues. Which one needs to look at, needs to get comfortable with, and needs to, what you're transferring is an operating asset basically from one party to another party. I think there are issues which are related to liabilities, there are issues which are related to any kind of a working surrounding that plant. My guess is basically a lot of it was driven by getting both sides comfortable with some of that and then translating into the documentation, which we successfully achieved.
Looks like the lenders didn't give JP Associates any chance of getting any cash out of this deal at all. And do you think all the money is going to go in deleveraging the company really?
Nisha, at the end of the day, whether value goes on to release the debt or comes in as cash, I pretty much see it as the same thing. What UltraTech shareholders are paying is 3,800 crores, and what JP shareholders are getting is 3,800 crores for this asset. Now, whether it comes in as cash or reduces debt is practically the same thing to me.
No,
it
definitely.
Doesn't make much of a difference.
No, definitely. Why I ask this is that the prime driver for this particular deal's fructification is also the lenders trying to also convince JP Associates to deleverage and sell assets and get in some cash into the system.
The balance sheet has been stressed, whereby promoters have very clearly indicated they would like to deleverage, and they've demonstrated that by this transaction. So my guess is it's a step in the right direction.
So what was the deal clincher, at least now that it's behind us?
No, it's not a deal. A deal valuation is only one of the factors. At the end of the day, there are several other things which are associated with it. That involves external market dynamics, what's going on, what the environment is like, whether it's an opportune time or not, what are the deal dynamics at a point of time. So it's very difficult to say there was one point or one thing which was a clincher. I think it was a basket of a lot of issues put together.
All right. And you wouldn't say who relented finally on certain negotiating points? Somebody
I think both
relents.
of them relented, and both of them came to a conclusion. And basically, I think that's where we as Stanchart played quite a significant role in making sure we could build trust between the two parties and make sure it's a win-win deal for both of them.
Did you at any point think that this deal is not going to go through, since it had been going on for a long time and there were various issues and due diligence, this and that?
Look, I mean, every deal, as an investment banker, I've been in this business for more than 17, 18 years. I think every deal is not done till it's done.
Yes, every banker says that, yes.
And I mean, there are always moments in every deal where you tend to think that tomorrow morning you'll get up and it's all gone. But then basically it's a part and parcel of M&A business.
Now for any deal to go through, the buyer and the seller have to agree on the value, and there lies the conflict. So in this particular deal, Axis Bank has played a pivotal role in putting a value to the 4.8 million ton Gujarat cement unit that UltraTech bought. $124 for per ton of cement. That's the valuation they derived at. And Axis Bank's Srinivasan Subramanian tells us how they got there.
Rupee value at which the deal was done was something very close to about 800 crores per million tons. And if you take it on that basis, I think that it's a very fair value, close to the setting up of capacity cost. And there are other benefits which arise out of the merger. It is a fair value because, like I said, that it is close to the cost of construction, plus in addition the asset has got enough ability to add newer capacities. There's land, there's space, there is extra limestone capacities, plus with the jetty being available, I think that the ability to move the cement which is produced not only hinterland in Gujarat or up north, but the company can also move it down south to other parts of coastal India, or even go right up to Sri Lanka. All of these are additional assets. Given all of these, we think that it is a great value for the buyer to get it at that particular price of 3,800 crores or thereabout.
But a broad consensus on the valuations alone isn't enough to sign on the dotted lines. So on the other side of the break, we'll have India's top M&A lawyer and the legal advisor to this particular deal, Cyril Shroff of Amarchand Mangaldas, joining us to complete the story.
वो देखो, हमारी तरक्की के लिए एनएसएसओ वाले खुद चल कर आ रहे हैं।
एनएसएसओ?
हाँ, एनएसएसओ यानी नेशनल सैंपल सर्वे ऑफिस, और एनएसएसओ का काम है आंकड़े इकट्ठे करना।
आंकड़े? जी हाँ। देखिए, इस बार आंकड़े आपकी फसल और पशुधन के बारे में, आपकी जमीन जायदाद के बारे में, कर्ज और निवेश के बारे में। और अगर सरकार आपके बारे में सही जानेगी तभी तो आपके लिए सही नीतियां बना पाएगी, क्यों? तो सरपंच जी शुरू करें।
तो नेक काम में देरी कैसी है?
निभाए अपनी जिम्मेदारी, एनएसएसओ को दें सही जानकारी।
मेरा वंश आ गया। मैं उस युग पुरुष के दर्शन करने आया हूँ जिसने यहाँ पुत्र बनकर जन्म लिया।